You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com. Hey, it's Chris Spangle, host of We Are Libertarians, and I want to tell you about our friends at Lions of Liberty. It is a podcast very much like ours. It is a group of guys who are motivated to entertain you and inform you at the same time. They have a show that is released 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Friday is Felony Friday. It's a special show about the broken criminal justice system. You can find Lions of Liberty on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and on lionsofliberty.com. Seriously, these guys are great. If you love our show, you're going to love Lions of Liberty. Very similar to what we do. They have conversation about current events. They interview people that are very interesting. While their show is very similar to like ours, they have a lot of different opinions than we do. So I think if you love We Are Libertarians, then you are going to love Lions of Liberty. So get it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and at lionsofliberty.com. Welcome to We Are Libertarians. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. We Are Libertarians brings you all of the irreverence modern politics deserves. We explain to you what the hell is happening in our world today and how we can fix it by thinking differently. This is a podcast brought to you by the We Are Libertarians Network. Please be sure to rate and review us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, share this episode with friends, and for the love of God, please support us on PayPal or Patreon at wearelibertarians.com. And you can send your questions and comments via email at editor@wearelibertarians. Across the table from me is Gregory Lenz.
Hello, Christopher.
How are you doing?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm impressed by this new intro. It's so professional, and like I'm a little bit put off. I don't know that I'm going to be able to live up to the professionalism of the intro.
I wrote it down.
Oh, okay.
That's the secret.
Did Michelle Obama give this intro like 4 years ago?
I had Ryan Ripley write this. This is actually the Lava Flow intro. I just copied it down from Roger Paxton.
So you did commit plagiarism.
Of course.
You're the Melania Trump of libertarians.
Everything I do is stolen from someone else. That is, I was raised on radio, so anything that you hear on radio and you go, wow, that's really entertaining, somebody else thought of it. That's why I'm great at memes. I just steal memes all day long.
Yeah, you're great at memes.
I'm the best memer ever. I haven't made a meme in 3 years.
Well, you've made some. They just can't be shown publicly.
That is true, yeah. There's some really disturbing ones.
Who claims a meme?
The memes belong to the internet, Shelby. Shelby Melban. Melban. Okay, he joins us. I've never met Shelby. You apparently have you've just started listening.
Yeah, I've just started listening to the Libertarian podcast and, kind of read through your guide to figuring out if you're a libertarian.
The Path to Libertarianism, found at wearelibertarians.com.
Very, very educational, entertaining. Got to take some quizzes.
Yes, there's a quiz. We start out with the quiz and then make you take it again. We're very authoritarian like that.
Have you made improvement? Then you're out. Please stop listening.
It dead pegged me as libertarian on the second go-round. I don't know what I answered differently. I think it was rigged. It's a cookie.
No. It's just your exposure to wearelibertarians.com made you more libertarian.
No, actually less, right? Because the second time was worse.
No, the second time put me square over libertarian.
Huge. All right.
Yes. See,
it's happening.
Works. Take that, Bittner. So, Bittner, see, the path to libertarianism is something that I spent a year working on.
And then he aborted.
Exactly right, yeah. And so it is like 10 minutes. You go through a series of things. You can read through it in 5 minutes or less, or you can watch the videos, and it'll take a little bit longer. And it makes you libertarian, and it was destined for post-quiz. And when Bittner took over the Advocates for Self-Government, he got rid of it and decided to do his own thing.
Create the Church of Bittner.
Exactly right. We can't have this. There's no Bittner in it. So he's created something with a lot more Brett Bittner in it. So we look forward to that. Check out the Advocates for Self-Government. I got really excited because I got a tweet from you.
Yeah.
And
it's the little things.
I got into Twitter. I'm like, I've always been into Facebook and Twitter. It's just like, this is overflow. Like, who are you actually going to listen to?
No. You've actually incredibly disappointed me. I'll tell you why. Because one of our goals here is to find more females, because there's not a lot of libertarian women, and you have as your profile picture, I assume, a girlfriend or a wife who is front and center.
One or both.
And your name.
What color hair?
Yeah, what color hair?
She was blonde, so not into it.
This might have been my daughter.
Well,
too many women in my life.
So, and your name is Shelby. So I, of course, thought, wow, okay, hit me up.
How you doing?
No, not like that. It was
Slide
more
in them
like,
DMs.
hey, we need to have more women on the show.
Exactly right. And so I thought, all right, cool, Shelby, cool. And then you message me, and I'm like, another white guy, not another one. And then you're like, I'm a Democrat. I'm like, shit.
Double whammy.
No,
The worst kind of white male.
it actually is great timing because we're looking for somebody from the left and to help. See, Greg and I are both former Republicans. I've been a libertarian for 10 years. Greg is coming to terms with his libertarianness.
I've always been a libertarian. I just I don't know. I was.
Is it a
I felt
battle
more at home
that
in the
you-
Republican Party until they became so Southern conservative.
Have you ever
And
seen a
so-
loved one struggle with alcohol, going through the 12 steps of that's what watching Greg become a Libertarian Party person is like.
Yeah, and then I hang out. The problem is I hang out with them socially, and then I realize I hate it. I hate libertarians. No, they're all wonderful people.
No, they're the worst.
Is it a mental struggle?
No, it's really not. It's that I don't fit the mold because the philosophy's established, it's done, it's over, and so philosophical discussions, I don't know, you can have them, and it's interesting, but I like to talk about what's going on in the world, and libertarians tend to live with their head in the sand.
He's also seen a boob, so it's much different than most
so it's a hindrance.
Well, I mean, like a lot of libertarians, the philosophy is non-intervention. And so they think that means they don't have to watch what's going on in the world. Until like the fire and the barbarians get at the gate, they don't have to pay attention. And that's problematic because it's just boring. It's the same thing over and over.
Which we'll talk about coming up in a little bit. But Shelby, so you've been listening, you said you've listened to 20 episodes of We Are Libertarians?
Yeah, I've gone back to like 20 episodes. You can just throw them on at work and kind of mindlessly listen and pick out the entertaining spots. Not that you're not entertaining all the time.
So
we do 2 hours, so there's about 10 minutes worth of really excellent content.
Yeah.
I'll look down, I'll be like, I'm on the same episode, but I'm still tuned in, so it's okay.
So many feels.
Sorry about that. So you have learned what in the last few weeks? Well, that speaks volumes, doesn't it, Greg?
We are educators, well trained.
At least you got me thinking. That was my transformation from a Republican to a Democrat coming from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So, just thinking and, making you stand by what your original decisions were and what you bring into every conversation.
So
I think that changes people.
So you started out a Republican and became a Democrat when?
I grew up in Texas, so that's all I ever knew. Hippies, lefties were not good words that you wanted to describe you coming from a small town in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably 6 years ago, I started asking questions, or somebody start questioning, why you believe what you believe. And when you actually start asking the questions and you have to back it up, you change.
Sure. That's why I became a libertarian, is because I started spouting off everything Rush Limbaugh said. I did for forever. And then Abdul and Andy Horning started challenging me, and I was like, I have nothing for you. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah. This fat guy on the radio said it. It must be true.
Oh.
Now you should listen to fat guys on podcasts. They know everything, not radio.
Not Abdul, though. Never. Never Abdul.
You're not going to get Abdul to listen to fat guys.
He's a Muslim, and we can't trust him.
You would not believe how many people share that opinion.
I know, but for real.
I know.
Not jokingly.
I know. Now, so you decided to become a Democrat?
Well, I wanted to get involved politically, and, to get anything done, you just automatically think, Republican, Democrat, what am I? Well, I've got to be something.
Sure.
I want to get involved. So this year was my first year to really actually get out there and see what it takes and what goes on at the local level.
So you got involved with the Indiana Democratic Party?
I got involved with the Hendricks Democrats.
The Hendricks County Democrats?
Hendricks County
All four
Democrats.
of you?
I'm making bumper stickers that say Hendricks County Democrats, yes, they exist.
I mean, that is...
Because that's what you get. You're at a parade or anywhere else, and they'll be like, you exist?
Yeah.
And you get that a lot. So there's a lot of them.
I mean, I don't really know where there's a liberal pocket until you get to Raceway Road on 40. That's impressive.
So Greg and I grew up in Hendricks County, and you now live in Hendricks County. So we both know the county that you're from, but it's a suburban county just west of Indianapolis, and Indianapolis is the Marion County is Democrat. It's liberal in the center, especially. In it's like any other city. In the minority areas, it's more Democrat. Around the college areas, it's more Democrat. In the South Side here where I live, it's nothing but rednecks with truck balls and Bush stickers still on the back of their truck. Down here on this side
and
of Marion
the Asians.
County. But then the donut counties are all Republican. I mean, it's like supermajority Republicans. So to be...
it's almost a fence, if you will, around the Democrats.
Are there any counties with larger pockets? Or like
Bloomington, Monroe,
yeah.
Lake
Well,
County.
we've all been to Bloomington, and we know that they're not going to...
We're not going to...
Yeah, college towns are all... If you look at the map of Indiana, then the blue pockets are around the colleges and those high concentrated areas. And in the majority of the state, it is one-party rule in these counties. So to be a Hendricks County Democrat there's as many Hendricks County Libertarians that are active. I mean, truthfully, I mean, there's a Hendricks County party, and it probably has the same attendance at a meeting that the Hendricks County Democrats do.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, so...
He's been carrying that torch, and his shoulders look tired.
In election year, it's doubled in size. But.
So,
are you still involved? So you're the Hendricks
I'm
County
actively trying to promote it. I mean, this is my
You're
first
trying
year.
to promote democracy?
I'm trying to get people out to vote.
Organizing canvas?
well, that'll never happen.
It'll happen.
I'm an optimist.
No, it'll happen. It's actually not as big a split as you think. Like, I'm guessing it's probably vote-wise like 65-35.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
So what I always tell people about why you need a Libertarian Party is that the Libertarian Party in most of these counties is the opposition. It is the second party in the majority of the counties in Indiana. So 65-70% of our state legislators go to Election Day without an opponent. And the only time that they'll get an opponent is if a libertarian runs against them. And libertarians in ideology are socially liberal, fiscally conservative, and a Democrat can see themselves voting for a libertarian. They can't see themselves voting for the Republicans or their brand because the brand damage. A Republican can look at a libertarian and say, I would vote for that person, I'd vote for the libertarian, but I'll never vote for a Democrat. I mean, when I was a Republican, I was so proud of the fact that I'd never ever voted anything other than Republican. And the second I became a libertarian, in every single election, I voted for all three parties. You know, so you break out of that mindset of just being a cheerleader for that team. So that I think if you look around your state, dear listener, then you will find that you're probably gerrymandered about the same way we are. That you have one party rule in your county, and what the
on
parties,
purpose.
Yeah, and what the parties do is it's to reserve resources. They only have to fight over really 5 state legislature seats, and so they raise money for 5 seats instead of 150. So it's undermining democracy, and so that's why third parties, I believe, are completely necessary. And it's so great to see the growth of this third party. So,
and even the Green Party in growth. I mean, with Jill Stein polling at like 4 and 5% nationally, that's out of nowhere, really.
I'm going to be honest. Jill Stein's kind of a badass. I don't.
She's had the
She is
best
Jill
quote.
Stein.
Huh?
She is Jill Stein.
Oh, I mean, she had the best commentary when Bernie decided to endorse Hillary. You know, I thought that was the best line of the entire political season so far.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So your ideology, you would say, where does your ideology fall?
I guess where I don't fall into any, great. I don't want to pick up the banners of, the Democratic Party and be associated with, any of the negative, but you chose, at the same time.
But you chose that party because why?
Because they're supporting the things, the policies that around gay rights, and drug policy and, incarceration and things like that that I care about, and really what made me change, which was immigration policy. So, they're at least pushing those boundaries forward in the way that I want to see them go.
Right. So when you look at their fiscal policy.
So, I mean, like you go taxes, I would much rather have a program proposed and then you figure out a way to pay for it than just say, okay, we just have to raise taxes, because that's where, Democrats and Republicans a lot of time, I'm just going to cut taxes. Okay, well, why are you going to cut taxes? Do you actually have a need for them in your area? Are you collecting enough? I mean, that's personally, how I would want to govern or go about it.
So you're really just a common sense and like efficiency type politically minded individual.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe, the way I think about it.
Yeah, like if we're going to do government and it's something we're inevitably going to have, we might as well make sure that we're fiscally disciplined and then it intrudes in social policy as little as possible.
Yeah, and I heard Chris talking the other day, and you were talking about, I think it's, who's the Libertarian that's running for governor?
Rex Bell.
Yeah, you were talking about Rex Bell, and you were really, behind him and great person, and that his policy and his things, you could really get behind. And, I'm like, okay, cool. If I ran, that's where I would want to win people. It wouldn't want to be under the banner of some party. It would be on the getting out there, making sure people knew me and seeing what I thought about the issues at hand that I'm going to have an influence on.
Yeah, so we've interviewed Rex Bell, and we talked a little bit about the Indiana governor's race, a lot actually, because it's here in our state, and our governor just left to be the vice presidential pick.
The vice god emperor.
And so Eric Holcomb was selected to our lieutenant governor, former chief of staff for Dan Coates, former chief of staff for Mitch Daniels, former executive director of the Republican Party, and Holcomb was selected to be the Republican pick. And he's running against a guy by the name of John Gregg, who ran again 4 years ago, former state house speaker. And Gregg's entire campaign strategy went up in smoke when Trump picked Pence, because everything that he was going to run on was, I'm not Mike Pence. And now he's not running against Mike Pence.
He was like Indiana's Hillary.
He was being successful at it, too.
If that election 4 years ago had gone 2 more weeks, he would have won. And so there was an interview that he did with Abdul today where he continued on that, and it's just like, okay.
Cringe.
And so the thing with Rex Bell is that Rex Bell, we have all of Rex's writings and wearelibertarians.com, and I can go back through 15 years of his writings, through 500 posts, and I can tell you that the stuff that he is saying today is the same stuff that he said 10 years ago. Because he has an ideology, a philosophical view, and he has good judgment. Whereas John Gregg, 4 years ago, did not support gay rights, and now all of a sudden, magically, he supports gay rights. And
he evolved. He thought about it. He gave it more consideration.
And so what I said in that post is that you want a gubernatorial pick that was selected by party members and not party insiders, because 22 people in the Republican Party basically threw out the primary and selected someone. You want somebody whose campaign strategy and philosophy didn't change based on the elections, and that's Rex Bell. That's consistency. Philosophical and campaign consistency are found in Rex Bell, and it's not found in anybody else. And so somebody else, some wise ass, got in there and said, well, Rex Bell's run for Congress and State House, and he's run for office like 8 times. I don't think people can take someone seriously if they just keep running for office. I was like, dude, Eric Holcomb, the pick, has been a candidate for United States Senate, lieutenant governor, and now governor this year. He's been on the ballot 3 different positions in one single year, so don't give me that mess. So yeah, that's what. Yes, I understand the wasted vote impulse that you have, and we really need to delve into this. Our good friend Sam Naimi is begging us to do a wasted vote episode, so we'll have to do that.
That'd be really good, because I see people out there, all the time, and I'm never going to call it a wasted vote.
Sure.
I mean, you vote your conscience or your policy or whatever,
right? And
you can talk to people, but don't ever tell somebody.
Well, the implication is that it belongs to someone else and not
right.
you. So you would be saying that, well, it belongs to the Republican or the Democrat, and when you go and vote Libertarian, we lost it. No, it's not. We tally votes in support. We don't rank candidates and say, well, this person voted for Trump, so the Hillary lost a vote.
Sure.
We don't do it like that.
One of the best things about voting for Gary Johnson is that simultaneously you can vote against Hillary Clinton and against Donald Trump. So that alone should sway.
Yeah, right there. I mean, that's what you should lead with.
So the wasted vote syndrome has pushed you towards the Democratic Party over the last few years.
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
Okay, so has listening to We Are Libertarians started to crack your Libertarian Party cherry a little bit?
It doesn't crack. Like I'm not Humpty Dumpty, already falling off the wall.
Have we pierced, at least your Libertarian hymen? Did you?
I'm not a Libertarian virgin any longer.
Excellent. It's Greg's.
I liberated him.
He liberated.
He just put a mark on the tally sheet over here.
Where's the bedpost?
Those are some weird drawings.
I know, right?
You should see some of the drawings I have over here, Greg.
I know you do this Rorschach test now with everyone new that comes on.
We'll get to
What
those
is
later.
this?
What do you see here? That is an elephant spitting. So I think you're a libertarian. I don't think you're even close to a Democrat.
How do you feel about that?
It excites me. It makes me a little sad. I remember when I lost my, my Republican.
That's a heavy
I
day.
didn't vote for Obama the first time, and when he won, I was just like, you know what? Anybody running for president is gonna want to do a good job. They're not out there to do bad things. As
What a
much
true
as I
believer.
love Donald Trump.
Oh my God, he believes that all, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's hard not to say that, but yeah, anybody running for that office is gonna do good. But
Do you still believe that?
I still do believe that. I'm an optimist. I give people credit, although
Mm-hmm.
some people have given me reasons not to love them, and they're narcissists and they should just die. But
We're not going to say who, because I really don't need the Secret Service in my apartment again.
They just released Reagan's shooter today to live with his mother.
I did see that.
See that? Most people forget that Reagan, there's an assassination attempt, and they finally released him today.
Second chances,
That's right. So
third chances, and
what keeps you joining the Libertarian Party of Hendricks County?
Keeps you from.
getting involved and seeing how it goes, because that's why I wanted to get involved locally. Was okay, I'm not going to be able to run for state senate or something. I need to know how things work. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go to a meeting. I'm going to get frustrated and think that people aren't doing enough or aren't saying things loudly or totally missing the point. And then I'm going to stand up.
Condescension. You are definitely a libertarian.
No, I actually am a proponent of starting out a different party because they have the existing infrastructure. They have the years of organizing. They have people that literally do this for a career. So it's not just, when I have time, when I put my kids to sleep, I've got an hour to knock out something. Like, learn it there. That's the best place to learn. And then if your ideas change, then you should, and you want to be a libertarian, you can take that and make the Libertarian Party better.
That's one of the things that we really lack in the Libertarian Party is experience. That you see it, Greg.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I love, like, we have some of the, and we have one of the, probably in the second or first best organized and competent people in the state or in the country in Indiana.
Yeah.
Running the Libertarian Party of Indiana. And I still see it as like these people, they're willing to lose money, time, relationships, family time, like everything for this cause. And yet it's tough because they still only have a couple hours a night.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a full-time job and kids and anything extracurricular and devote something to politics.
A cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I got involved in the Libertarian Party of Indiana the first time. And that's how I eventually became the executive director. Is I was at the radio station. I was working for Abdul. I was watching them. I was a libertarian. The last domino to fall was interventionism, and Ron Paul got me. And I
before he was raising funds for the troops at a rally downtown.
Right. Well, 2003 was a different time, Greg. We all do things in college.
We were liberating Iraq, and we didn't
hasn't-
realize that was going to give it to ISIS.
Who hasn't organized a pro-war rally in their life? Okay?
I can honestly say I haven't. I like to think it was more so the fact that you got kicked out of the IUPUI College Republicans for saying you didn't hate gay people.
I almost got impeached. I didn't get impeached because there weren't enough people there to vote.
All of a sudden, the invitations started getting lost.
Yeah,
The Indiana mail
We haven't
system.
planned
It
our
just
next
doesn't
meeting,
work
Chris. We'll let
sometimes.
you know.
It is really weird that in the Mitch Daniel administration, every other college Republicans chairman got a job except for me. I don't know what happened.
If you'd just hated those queers more.
I know, if I just wanted to build the wall.
I know.
So I was like, I think Bush's immigration plan is good, and they were like, okay, we need to do
All right,
something
Lindsey
with
Graham
it.
Mystique.
Right. I was the John McCain of college Republican chairman in 2004.
Oh, God.
Listen, we all do things in college
Maverick.
we're not proud of, right? So
Yours was John McCain.
no, it was George Bush's reelection.
See, I voted for George Bush 3 times because I got to vote for him for governor.
Texas, that's right.
Which he was shockingly different, like his career as Texas governor, and like what he was so like the biggest proponent of reading and like
Education.
Education was everything to him, and then he ran for president, and he was the hawk, compassionate conservative with no real policy backing, and really a lockstep Senate and House, and he just sort of shit all over the place.
Yeah, he could just roll along and do what he wanted to do because he had support, and he was going to do what his advisors told him to do because that's what they're there to do.
Because they knew his daddy.
Listen here.
Colin and Rummy.
Listen here, Turd Blossom.
And that's what he looks like. Karl Rove, I got his book and had it signed in one of my less proud moments. He was the biggest douchebag on the planet.
Really?
He's as big a douche as you would imagine.
Well, he just looks like he's full of gas.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at Karl Rove, you just see a pile of farts.
He just must eat a lot of Chinese, because, like...
Do not say that.
Why?
Because he might invite you to go pheasant hunting.
That's Dick Cheney.
That's Dick Cheney.
Would somebody shoot me in the face?
Another pile of gas.
Please pinch me.
Right. Okay, so we're...
You were forcing libertarianism on him. Poor Shelby.
Poor Shelby.
He knew what he was getting at. Listen,
you don't come over to Chris Spangle's house.
You come over
on the
to
Libertarian podcast and expect them to.
The wall's covered in liberty. You know what you're getting yourself into.
It is. There is the Declaration right there.
The Declaration. We've got Friedman books. We've got
a Trump hat.
Awards. Yeah, we've got Donald Trump's water with some Donald Trump hair. That's technically Greg's, but he kept it here. For the We Are Libertarians.
That's going to be a great story to tell in like 10 years when we're great again and we got the wall.
And the wall is so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's
and
gold.
Amazing. And I can't wait for them. The Mexicans are going to come to the wall and look at it and be like, you know what? We built this.
I'll get
this
in that catapult and I will go right back.
The Hillsborough, Ohio, Mayor Drew Hastings, currently under indictment. Godspeed, Drew.
Really?
Yeah, I'll explain that some other time. We've got Crazy Larry's hat. We've got a Hillary laughing pen. You really should get that pen, Greg, and play it for the audience. It's right up there next to the GW bobblehead. Yeah, that Make America Great Again hat is a legitimate hat. I donated $40 to the Trump campaign to keep that with my political swag for the backdrop.
Oh, my God.
I got that 8 years ago. Closer. Right into it.
Can you hear? This is a pen with Hillary just cackling. Although I hear Howard Dean redid the Howard Dean scream today.
Okay, that was a good one.
Does it vibrate?
No, because it's cold.
Is it a cigar?
No, because if it... Never mind. It's Hillary.
You know, I was listening to talk radio today, and, you know, those kind of jokes still surface, and I find myself very sad in the fact that I used to listen to Michael Savage and some of those more...
Banned in Britain.
Banned in Britain.
He literally cannot go to Britain because of his book.
Can Trump still go?
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, he owns Scotland.
He owns Scotland.
Yeah, Nigel Farage, the UK Independence Party.
You can't go to Ireland.
Like, they're bros. Oh, yeah, probably can't go to Ireland.
Let's start out. Let's get into... I know it's the Democrats' week, and surprisingly, the media has been all about Hillary. Trump hasn't. Trump is finally starting to do what we were hoping and troll Hillary a little bit. There's been a couple things that have been great.
Today was epic.
We'll get into those, but I think we should start out. One of the reasons we wanted Shelby on, it was God's timing. I know you don't believe in God because you're a Democrat, and Democrats can't believe in Jesus. It's true. It's true. Rush told me, right?
I used to listen to Rush a lot.
Right. So Jesus, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. So God brought us a Democrat to come on and talk about Democrat stuff because Greg and I, we don't care and we don't know anything about Democrats.
I do. I actually follow Democrats. Like, I've watched almost all of it.
You follow one.
You follow Democrats. Okay, I follow Democrats now for like a year or two.
I haven't been around Democrats in like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. I really try to avoid them.
Almost all my friends are Democrats.
Well, they're
non-libertarian friends are almost every single one is a Democrat.
They're just so liberal and gross.
It's fine, except when they always try to take my wallet.
I know. It's the patchouli, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on patchouli. That stuff is
They have the best vegan oatmeal cookies, though.
She was libertarian, and you know it. All right, so the Democratic convention is going on this week, and there have been some emails leaked. And I'm conflicted on this because, on the one hand, yes, it's a private organization, and would I like my emails to be stolen? Heck no. I've got some would I want people to see our chat, Greg? No.
I'd be all right.
It's more the pictures than it is the comments.
I feel like America's ready.
It's some of the words. So it's some of the words in the chat.
But the DNC and the emails.
But the difference between Weird Libertarians chat on Facebook Messenger and the Democratic National Committee is that Weird Libertarians has very little to absolutely none, no political influence on the public sphere. Whereas the Democratic Party, that they were actively rigging the primaries against Bernie Sanders, and we all knew it. Everybody knew it. It just couldn't be proven, and they would, oh no, you're just full of it. No, Bernie Sanders, he's old. What is he talking about? He doesn't know anything.
It was totally blown over, originally when people would, make accusations or, suggest things. And, the emails came out and that really, solidified some people's accusations.
Now, you being a Democrat.
Okay.
I love how much he likes to condition it every time he talks to you. You are a Democrat.
Now,
as a Democrat.
You being a Democrat.
I love labels.
Bernie or Hillary, are you with her?
Oh, I was totally a Bernie fan. And the Bernie sticker will stay on my car, and the Bernie sticker was the only political sign up in my entire neighborhood.
Okay. Wow.
So, it's illegal because I have an HOA. But let somebody call me and tell me to take that sign out of my yard.
He's so libertarian and he doesn't even know it yet. So you felt all along that it was being rigged, right?
I didn't give Bernie a chance in hell.
Mm-hmm.
And, so he outperformed everything I expected by, so much.
Sure. I think everybody feels that way. Yeah.
I think he felt that way.
Yeah. Once he...
do they know I'm an old Jew from the Bronx?
Don't they know I'll never live to my second term?
Yeah.
So, but I love Bernie. I think
Me too.
Yeah, I think he's... do I think that he would have been... I mean, the fact that he's never had a bill passed or anything like that shows that he may not have been the most effective president, but I genuinely think he's an authentic person. I think that he says what he believes. He stands up for what he believes. And he wasn't, you always get these kind of fringy candidates that start out in these primaries like a Dennis Kucinich or Howard Dean in 2004. But Bernie it was the Ron Paul moment for the left. And Hillary is so disliked that 8 years ago when people called Obama a socialist, it was such a bad word. Like Democrats would shout at libertarians and Republicans and go, "How dare you say that he's a socialist? You're just mudslinging." And then comes this like 75-year-old Jewish guy from New York who's an atheist, which was another no-no, and goes, "Yeah, I'm a socialist, so what?" And like everybody goes, "Yay!"
Isn't it cute?
It's so cute. It's amazing what he was able to achieve because he was supposed to be a novelty, and he really caught on. And I think a lot of libertarians sympathize with him because they do, they do like his authenticity. We are with Bernie on issues like, where did we agree with? Justice reform, drug reform.
If you look at where like the destination, like what Bernie wants is the exact same thing as the libertarians. They want no corruption, an end to corruption. They want an end to government cronyism. They want an end to inequalities that exist. Bernie blames it on a different cause than we do.
Right.
But ultimately, the end point, the destination is the exact same. No difference.
My I side with is 93% with Gary Johnson. So I support Gary more than Gary does. And then 69% with Trump and 68% with Bernie, 68% with Jill Stein, 22% with Hillary Clinton. So if you take the isidewith.com quiz and see where you fall, you'll see based on issues. And make sure you do the little drop down because there's more and you can weight stuff and it gives you more accurate reading. But so I agree with Bernie on a lot of stuff like I think a lot of libertarians do. So,
he's an advocate for social justice and criminal justice reform, which is just spot on with us. The surveillance state, a non-intervention, and then if you look at like Wall Street and big finance, he just thinks that you can actually stop it with government as long as well-intentioned people are in charge and watching over it. That's problematic because Goldman Sachs, whoever their operating manager or managing partner is, ends up being the Treasury Secretary every time we choose a new one.
Sure.
So, I mean, with Wall Street greed, I don't know how you expect for me, I love his message, and I want to go the same place he does. It's just I don't know that it's smart to increase the size of government and its scope and the amount of power they have when, even if he is a sheer force of will and able to watch over it for 4 to 8 years, whoever takes over next, you just gave him an even bigger monster. It's like what Obama, if he hands it over to Trump.
The keys to a car, you might not be able to drive.
Big government sounds good till Donald Trump's the president.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's the danger.
And let's get the details on the email leaks here in just a second. But yeah, I think Barack Obama was a true believer in everything that he says and a lot of what Bernie says. And you see what a true believer does in the White House. He does a lot of what George Bush did. And I think that's why that's where Hillary Clinton is. She's just more of a continuation of the last 16 years. And I think Donald Trump largely will be as well. I just don't see. I see him as a continuation plus narcissism and pathological insanity, and he's just out of his mind. But Greg disagrees. But if he gets elected president, I'm putting on the hat.
I'm never taking it off.
I'm gonna make America great again. I give because I've counted him out at every single moment.
I mean, there'll be no point in resisting.
Nope.
You might as well go with it.
You can't do anything about it.
Right.
No,
and
there's no not being great again once he wins.
We've got to make America great again.
Well, you don't have a choice. It's going to be great again.
Milo for Secretary of Great again.
Yeah, it's that or free helicopter rides.
So tell me, Greg, what happened with the email leaks? We all knew that the DNC wanted Hillary. It was Hillary's all along. And, there have been accusations the entire time that Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz were tilting it. And they did such a great thing. She stepped down. She resigned. She's not going to be the chairman. And they put Donna Brazile in charge.
Is it Donna Brazile? That's who got the replacement? I thought it was the vice chair.
She's the vice chair of the
Donna
DNC.
Brazile's the vice chair?
And isn't it weird that she was a campaign manager for Hillary Clinton in her...
Al Gore's campaign manager specifically.
Right.
Well, you're involved.
Right.
I mean, that's what I see now. People that I'm associating with, are on TV. They're voting. They're delegates. You get involved. You've been doing this for 40 years. I'm sitting at lunch, after a parade in Hendricks County the other day, and all the people around me, they have 40 years on me.
Sure.
But they're talking about, the senator you see on TV that's doing a set-in, that they know them and their wife.
Sure.
They've been around these people for decades.
Sure.
Talking to Martin Luther King or whomever else. I mean,
sure. Yeah, Donna Brazile, came up with the Clintons. She worked on the Bill Clinton campaigns, Al Gore's campaign,
with George Stephanopoulos and all that crew.
So it's just funny to see. Oh well, we've got a nonpartisan person running this convention, but it's over now. She's the first. Congratulations to Hillary. Much like I thought Michelle Obama's line this past week about watching her girls play in a house built by slaves was one of the things that I loved about Barack Obama's acceptance speech the night that he got the nomination in 2008. That it was a moment of, little did I know, I thought of racial healing. And that's one of the things that when I saw him in Plainfield in 2008, early 08, speak, I thought, wow, I thought like everybody else, here's a post-racial president. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, which we're still talking about. But
every president going forward will be a post-racial president.
But I think Barack Obama having an African American become elected president was a huge statement. Just like a woman president.
Shocked it's taken this long.
A female nominee, Libertarian Party Pride. Tony Nathan, the first female presidential nominee. She was the vice presidential nominee under John Hospers.
She beat Geraldine Ferrar?
No, our first ticket in 1976 was an openly gay man, John Hospers, and a female, Tony Nathan, and they both got one electoral college vote, making them both a first because a Virginia elector refused to vote it was 72. I'm sorry, it was 72, refused to vote for Nixon.
Yeah.
So, the Libertarian Party...
Totally justified.
Libertarian Party, home of the first openly gay nominee and female electoral vote. Gregory, tell us about these leaked emails. So
20,000 leaked emails.
Right.
Their database was hacked by the notorious hacker. Is it Guccifer or Guccifer?
It's Goose. I heard
It's
Goosifer.
got to be Guccifer.
Guccifer.
I heard Julian Assange say Goosifer.
Guccifer 2.0 is what he goes by. He released it on his WordPress blog. And they actually got out ahead of this a little bit because they knew they were hacked. And so they kind of knew where it was coming from all the way back last summer. And so he released 20,000 emails, of whom the majority were from Director Luis Miranda and Deputy Communications Director Mark Postenbach. And they ran the gamut. I mean, you had them wanting to use Bernie's religion against him in the primaries. You had
one person, the guy that you mentioned, saying, do we know where he stands on religion? He was a deputy communications director, basically saying, hey, if we can, my quote-unquote peeps in West Virginia and Kentucky, they're okay with him being a Jew, but if they find out that he's an atheist, then he's going to be screwed there. So let's circulate that around.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and then you even had credit card information and donor information. I mean, you just had everything.
Yeah.
And it was, Hillary's had a rough go. Hillary has not had it easy in this campaign. I mean, Trump's had it, the media love him but be against him and not take him seriously, but Hillary hasn't had one thing I can point to where it just was a positive for Hillary and she did something well.
Well, that's been her life for a long time.
Let's be fair. That's been her whole public career.
Yeah. I mean, she does herself no favors because she doesn't reach out to people. She doesn't connect with people on like any kind of personal level. And she comes off as wonky and condescending and entitled, even though she's not, I don't think. Or, well, every politician is, but she just, I don't know, she doesn't catch a break for whatever reason.
She's not selling that. So despite whatever she might be, that's not what she's selling. That's not what comes across. And that's definitely not what kind of persona is painted.
I've always thought it's been a mistake. Like, I think Hillary Clinton would have decimated Barack. Well, maybe not decimated, but she would have rose even faster if she had been more like a Margaret Thatcher, because her best thing about her is her steely strength and like reservedness. And yet she tries to play up the female, like the more female traits apparently in politics. Whereas if she had been like a Margaret Thatcher, I think right now this thing would be, I don't think Trump would really have much of a shot because he is filling the strongman vacuum where she could have.
And that's the problem with the Clintons, and that has always been the rap about the Clintons, is that they read polls and they don't trust, they distrust their gut. So they look at the polls, blow whichever way the wind is blowing. And so she probably looks, I need women, I need this group, I need that. Because, Mark Penn is the guy who created the term soccer mom. He was the pollster for...
the Mommy Wars.
Yep. So he was the pollster for the Clintons and then for Gore and then for Kerry, who came up with the term soccer moms and identified that specific group of people and it was called micro-targeting in political campaigns. And, that doesn't get developed without a certain mindset. And so Hillary Clinton, if she trusted her gut more, you'd think, and that is the rap that whenever you read some sort of expose about any one of her campaigns, 8 years ago or now, you hear Bill and Hillary on the phone all the time, calling all these different people, calling John Podesta, calling George Stephanopoulos, calling James Carville, all these longtime advisors, and getting their opinion. And that to me just says, listen, you're not trusting your gut. You don't trust what you think is right. And whenever you have that kind of weakness in leadership or your personal life, that starts to seep through. People see that unsure. And then and she does herself no favors because she doesn't connect with the media. She doesn't hold press conferences. She doesn't put herself out. And I think she genuinely, and probably rightly so, says, the media has never been my friend. The vast right-wing conspiracy exists. She's the one who coined that. The media is out to get the Bill and I, and they always have been. So why would I want to offer myself up to gotcha questions? I'd rather just tightly control everything. And so she doesn't have the ability to go out and present herself as the person that she may truly be. She wants to do it through glossy videos and through
I think she wants to be who everyone wants her to be.
Yeah.
And
That's
much
not
like
her.
like the Obamas, she's playing the long game.
Sure.
She understands this. She's been doing it. She understands that, media cycles today are fast. And Donald Trump is great at just playing whatever he wants to do, and that's why he can
he makes them dance.
He can go so far from his previous positions because he's just playing the game that he's done for so long.
Yeah, because this is the first media cycle that I can think of that Hillary Clinton is the lead and he is not.
And she really isn't. It's just that it's convention week. Michelle Obama on opening night rocked the place. Right. If she's the nominee, it's over.
So all of what we just said, I think, is back to a point that I tried to make earlier but did not do articulately. Hillary Clinton is so disliked that a fringe candidate who is not even a member of the Democratic Party, who is 76 and too elderly to be president for the next 8 years as the party's nominee, who is an avowed socialist and atheist, almost beat her and they had to rig it to make sure that she got elected because she's so unlikable. And it isn't just her baggage. Although her baggage is a big part of it. Republicans have been hating on the Clintons forever. But I think
baggage is Bill.
Who went out last night and made a big, a big case for her, and painting that image. I mean, it really was.
Basically, It was Bill saying, everything you thought of that I did, it was actually Hillary. I was just the lipstick on the pig. It was basically him saying Hillary was the brains behind the operation. I was just the front of house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what I got out of what he said.
That's always been true. I mean, the thing with him not like leading on things is that's not Bill Clinton, because everything's been easy for him his whole life. Bill Clinton was notorious in law school for not taking notes because he knew it would be on the exams just by listening to the professors, what they were passionate about.
Right.
And then he's a Rhodes Scholar and he meets Hillary Rodham and then Arkansas, and then luckily runs against George Bush with Ross Perot. I mean, the guy is so good at like people and social elements. He's the closest thing to a natural I've ever seen. No one leaves meeting Bill Clinton and doesn't feel special.
Yeah, I watched him personally in Greencastle in 2008, and he's amazing. And the only other person that comes close to his magnetism was Barack Obama.
But it's a different kind.
Yes. Barack Obama has Bill Clinton is more fun, and Bill Clinton is smarter in person. Barack Obama is has more gravitas, honestly.
He's a natural leader. He's kind of like they used to say about Washington is that, he was the tallest man in the room and people just gravitated towards his like little bit of seriousness.
Yeah.
And he's just an authority. He's an authority figure.
And so I think that 1976 was Bill Clinton's first convention speech, which blows my mind that he's been around and relevant that long. And then you have Barack Obama. Today or yesterday was the 12th anniversary of Barack Obama's convention speech in 2004, which launched him onto the national stage.
Which everyone should watch and look at how his speech pattern changed.
Really?
Oh, he had none of the speaking in threes. Let me be clear.
Right.
And then, the mannerisms, the anchoring.
Right.
He had none of that, and it was just linear straight through. It's amazing to watch the change.
That's interesting, yeah. And he looks so much younger, too.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how the presidency ages.
And my first exposure to Obama, I had no idea who he was until I was in Chicago, and he was, local TV had him and Alan Keyes. Debating.
Oh, Alan.
No comment.
Yeah. So I worked with Abdul, who always got mistaken for Alan Keyes and hate Alan Keyes.
From Borat.
Right. Yeah. Borat.
If you remember that scene, it's quite funny.
So, so the leaked emails, the Democrats, it's hugely embarrassing, I think.
You think so?
I think it just... Donald Trump is disliked by Republicans, but I got a sense of unity out of last week. Even Ted Cruz's moment really wasn't that, Donald Trump is to Ted Cruz as, Hillary is to Bernie. And I felt like if you look at the two factions, Ted Cruz walked away with his people going, yeah, that's just Ted. We're going to still support Trump. It's fine, whatever.
Ted's devout in being Ted.
Right. And then you've got the Bernie basically begging and pleading on his knees, just, nominating her, announcing she's frankly embarrassing himself.
See, I see it as he wants his supporters to vote for Hillary because he hates Trump. I mean, you have Trump today coming out going, hey, Russians, can you go find any more emails?
Right.
Like, he's advocating like, hey, just... whatever you can do to help me.
No, I think Bernie's been very clear how much he dislikes Trump, but the difference is Bernie's people have not listened. They're not even they're
not falling into lockstep. They're individuals.
Which
you might call them libertarians.
They might have gotten they might have gotten there had the email thing not happened. But now you've galvanized all the Bernie people who are anti-Hillary and said, I f***ing knew it. You know, and I think that becomes a problem because on both sides with both of these candidates, it's a real problem when people don't want to donate money. They don't want to go out and knock door to door. They don't want to volunteer.
Well, the
for a
IRS
campaign.
launching an investigation into the Clinton Global Initiative today.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Is there a Gowdy at the head of that commission?
There always is. It'll probably be Darrell Issa.
But so I think
nothing will come of it, but it'll be nasty and ugly and allegations. And if Bill Clinton denies an allegation, you have every reason to believe it happened.
Right.
He did it before Congress.
And that's how people paint a picture of the Clintons.
Right.
Coming from the other side, you know, where I was 12 years old, making copies and reading, you know, InfoWars type stuff about the Clintons killing people.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't trust anything bad I hear about the Clintons unless I have something.
He knows what
listen
InfoWars
to.
is.
Yep.
Well,
Alex Jones is a media... He's the Jeff Vibbert of Texas.
Well, where was he? He was at the RNC, and he was in
with the Young Turks.
He was doing an interview, and that was the most impassioned thing I've seen him do
since CNN.
And the only
Pierce
thing
Morgan
of his that I could listen to and not want to strangle myself.
This is 1776. If you haven't seen the video,
we need to call arms in this country. Pierce Morgan, the British guy's like, oh my God,
it's time to ride against your British ass.
He's like, this is why we lost.
I love Pierce Morgan when he doesn't agree with somebody.
If you haven't seen the video of Alex Jones invading the Young Turks last week, it is the funniest shit I've ever seen. And like the guy from the Young Turks, I think, is one of the most savvy media guys ever, Cy. And it's just like, dude, do you not realize how great this is? Alex Jones is beaming because he knows he's so smart in building a media empire. I think he's so full of crap, but what he's built independently is brilliant, even though he's manipulating people who are easily persuadable. That nonetheless, that like who the hell had ever heard of the Young Turks until like that was such a great opportunity. It was such great drama. And then, you know, Roger Stone off to the side trolling too. Makes me happy.
We need that moment.
We really do.
Alex, please attack us.
Right. So, I mean, if there's anybody listening and you want to attack us, I'll give you my address and we can Facebook Live it. So, what, you don't want me to be attacked? All right.
Who's that?
All publicity is good publicity.
Yeah, that's right.
Who are you just talking to?
Nobody. None of your business. So, we occasionally have visitors that like to sit in and watch and, you know, not participate.
Okay.
Remain silent, laugh hilariously.
You're right as a libertarian.
Silently.
That's right. I don't know what she is. I don't know. She won't tell me. So,
I've always said women should be seen and not heard.
So
nothing? Didn't trigger it?
Damn it. No, she's very non-Russellable.
Oh, man.
I figure she can defend herself. She knew what she was getting into coming in here with you.
Small hands, but they're very quick. So straight to the throat. So yeah, Hillary's hated, and everybody hates her. Nobody likes her, and I feel like this really damaged her campaign.
You think so?
Here's why: because it doesn't damage it media wise, because everybody already knows.
But no one's going to break rank from Hillary to Trump. They'll stay home.
But the problem is when you have an uninspiring candidate, you don't want there to be blood. You know, you can't have when you're already
you don't want to hemorrhage your support.
Yeah, she's atrophied, and then you add this on top of it, and this was going to be the week when Bernie was going to get his people on board and turn on that fundraising machine that, frankly, she really doesn't have from those independents.
She's got plenty of money, though.
Yeah, I know, but you can always use more. Like
Personally, the Clintons are at their best in crisis.
Yeah,
they weather storms. They're cockroaches. They just keep going. I mean, Bill Clinton has the longest list of affairs in American politics outside of like JFK.
Right.
He did unspeakable acts in the Oval Office with a 21 or 22-year-old Jewish intern.
Why do you got to make it Jewish?
Then lied to Congress.
Right.
He just gave the best. I mean, he was given primetime speech at the Democratic National Convention 16 years later.
Right.
And he's still going. And he's still beloved with 60% approval rating.
I'd vote for him.
People love Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
He didn't stick the cigar in you. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, and I came from a family and things where Bill Clinton was as unspeakable as Hillary is today. And coming out to Indiana and hearing people actually have anything good to say about him was like, whoa, I've never met one of you.
You could make the case that he was to the right of Donald Trump. Welfare reform?
Somewhere on that bookshelf is his campaign book. It's right directly behind you. Putting people first. Look at Greg, right behind your shoulder, David Letterman. And then it says putting people first. Grab that, Shelby. Down. Nope, to the right. Third shelf down. Right there, that
Warmer,
shelf. Yep, there you go. Warmer. Nope, to the left. Yes! All right, no, not that one. That's about the Bible. All right, there you go.
I'll take it.
So, Greg, thumb through that, and let's look at the 92 campaign book of Bill Clinton.
You got it.
Just look at the index.
All right.
And
putting people first, a strategy for change, agriculture policy, AIDS, which was a big deal in the 90s.
In 92.
Yep. Arms control. Interesting. The arts, probably NEA stuff. Campaign finance reform ended up going through with McCain-Feingold. Children, which... everybody loves the kids.
We got to put the children first.
It's all about schools and kids and whatever. Cities, urban revitalization, civil rights.
Yeah. Which
ADA? Or no, that was Bush.
that was a big deal just because civil rights, you had, the war on crack and all that stuff. And so you had the crime bill. Crime was a big issue in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, until Rudy Giuliani fixed it in New York.
We had OJ and the trial and all of that kind of things that kind of comes full circle.
Defense conversion, so probably the retooling of the American military, then the Americans with Disabilities Act, education, energy, cheap oil all through the 90s, environment, didn't really do anything. Families.
They were big on families, if you read the book.
He touched a lot of families.
He did touch a lot of families.
Gun control never was going to happen. Healthcare failed miserably. Which actually, the Obamacare is built off of Romney Care, which Newt Gingrich proposed in opposition to Hillary in, 93? And it's actually, the whole premise was founded by the great conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation. Housing, HUD reform, that was big. Immigration, no one ever touched. Israel and the Middle East, same, always.
Yeah. He had the big moment where he shook hands, and he was the new Jimmy Carter.
He was the healer.
Right.
Labor.
You got to put that in the book. The labor unions need.
Yeah,
labor
you got to have
right?
a policy position on everything. But then rebuilding America.
Right.
One might even say making it great again.
Yes, exactly.
Small business. Clinton, he raised the marginal tax rate to 39.6.
Yeah.
But outside of that, he was sound on. He benefited from the tech boom, but he was fine. And welfare and work though was the big thing, and then women.
Yep.
And he never really got.
I love women.
Hillary lost all credibility after losing health care.
Right.
And so she really didn't have a whole lot of influence on policy or taking a role, and really wasn't that prominent that I can remember until, the whole scandals came out.
Right.
Led by Newt Gingrich, who was having an affair while his wife was sick with cancer with her doctor.
Right.
Family values.
Right.
Where does NAFTA play into that? Where's that in
labor?
Labor.
So, he was famous. If you've ever seen, the book, what is that? Or it was a book and a movie by Anonymous by Joe Klein.
Primary Colors.
Primary Colors. If you've seen the movie, he was the Democrat saying that, in the United States, labor isn't cheap. Those jobs aren't coming back. We have to invest in trades and get you tax credits and funding for schools, Pell Grants, send you back so you can learn a skill and compete in a global economy. Because unfortunately, the United States isn't where labor is cheap, and that's why, your manufacturing jobs are leaving. And that he really was way ahead of everyone on that. And he's always been. I remember after the financial meltdown, he was on David Letterman explaining the problem with the economy, because he trotted out to defend the stimulus program. And he said, it's interesting. We have a problem where the financial crisis sapped everybody's spending power. People got laid off. People left the labor force at $33 an hour, came back at $12. And he was explaining the difference, though. He's like, the reality is we can probably drive it down to 8% from the high of 11. But he goes, we also could take it down to 5 if we could just get Americans with the right skill sets to fill the blue collar jobs. And he was talking about not going to college and becoming a welder on David Letterman and explaining the difference between structural and cyclical unemployment. And that's why he's so brilliant. He can explain that in a way everyone in America can understand.
During the 1980s, our government betrayed the values that make America great. Providing opportunity, taking responsibility, rewarding work. While the rich got richer, the forgotten middle class, the people who work hard and play by the rules, took it on the chin. They paid higher taxes to a government that gave them little in return. Washington failed to put people first. No wonder our nation has compiled its worst economic record in 50 years. Our political system isn't working either. Washington is dominated by powerful interests and an entrenched bureaucracy. Americans are tired of blame. They are ready for leaders willing to take responsibility.
I feel your pain.
Right. Our national economic strategy puts people first by investing more than $50 billion each year for the next 4 years while cutting the deficit in half. These investments will create millions of high-wage jobs, and America will compete in the global economy. So the strategy includes putting America to work by rebuilding our country. We're converting from a defense to a peacetime economy, revitalizing cities, rewarding work, supporting lifetime learning, providing affordable quality health care, revolutionary government by cutting 100,000 federal jobs, and reduce the national deficit. We will save nearly $300 billion by cutting spending, closing corporate loopholes, and force the very wealthy to pay their fair share of taxes. Our plan will cut the deficit in half within 4 years and assure that it continues to fall each year, which I'm pretty sure they did, because when he left, there wasn't a deficit.
No, we had a surplus, because they even talked.
Yep.
Bush was tooling with the idea of a tax rebate or using it to pay down the national debt.
Yep.
Which we did. We got a rebate.
Yeah.
So
What was it, like $240 or something like that?
Yeah.
It wasn't any. I mean, it was so expensive to do and so little money when you evened it out that it was ludicrous
I like the
that
idea.
they did it.
You know,
Like, the
who would've
idea was
thought that
great. It
If we
bought
did
them a
have
lot
a
of-
surplus, they would actually give it back to us.
Right. You shut your
That's
mouth.
shocking.
I really needed that money in 2000 and what was it?
Well, you were trying to raise money for the troops.
I was. What's wrong with that, Greg?
Huh?
Hmm? You hate the troops?
No.
Now that you're libertarian?
Oh, boy.
You libertarians all hate the troops. I knew it. So you if you watch some of the campaign commercials, type in Bill Clinton 1992 welfare and watch campaign commercials from 92. He sounds like a Republican talking about
That was an
welfare to work.
aggressive Welfare Reform Act. I mean, going from unlimited benefits to 5 years with TANF and then income assistance, housing assistance, and then education assistance, that is as conservative of entitlement reform that exists anywhere in the world.
Well, he probably knew what he was going to get passed, and he wanted to be successful.
Yeah, and make welfare work. And I mean, he was a policy wonk. He knew it inside and out. I think it's, what do they call it? The golden triangle of welfare. Mm-hmm. You can limit the amount of money spent, use it most effectively, and then make work pay.
But let's be honest, people say all the time, I'm not voting for Donald Trump because he's clearly a racist. Donald Trump says racist shit. Bill and Hillary have killed minorities. And I don't mean like Vince Foster. I mean the crime bill, for instance, with 3 strikes you're out, and various things that were passed in the crime bill have killed off a generation or 2 or 3 of the African American community. Hillary Clinton voted for the Iraq War, which killed 500,000 minorities in Iraq. You know, their track record of government,
NAFTA
is one
crooked deal
that, you know, when people say, oh, well, I'm voting for Hillary because Trump's a racist, to me, that's just not a good enough excuse, because the 1996 crime bill, if you've been impacted by episode 160 or 163 of this episode, you hear in Daron and Richard the impact of the 96 crime bill. You hear exactly what happened to their families. They've impacted minority communities more than Donald Trump's words. That's for sure. So to me, because look, I know, much to Greg's chagrin, I'm almost full Black Lives Matter at this point.
Oh, I am too.
I mean, we have a system of institutionalized racism, and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton they're
the perpetuators.
They're
of it.
right in the middle of it.
And it'll only continue.
Yeah, they have a lot of liability in what happens, and Black Lives Matter. And all
For the first black president, as he liked to call himself, he didn't have a very good track record.
Mm-mm. This awkward silence is brought to you by me taking a drink.
Donate.
Yeah. So yeah,
You are a libertarian.
If you look at the track record of the Clintons, it's not great. And if Hillary's president, it won't be great.
It really won't look any different than anything we've seen so far in the last 16 years.
For the last 16 years. That's exactly right. If Donald Trump is president...
We'll be great again, theoretically.
No, we won't.
We'll have a wall. It's something.
I always feel like I have to stand up and just say it is what it is. And, a president's going to stand up there. We all know the realities.
The only thing is, so you look at it, like every president makes the same promises. Barack Obama was going to shut Guantanamo on day one. Signs the executive order.
Yeah, and its doors are still open.
Right.
Still giving them ice
We don't
cream
know that
and
people
letting
are
them
going
swim in the
in.
ocean. Yeah.
Very few are coming out.
I mean, he's got the same JSOC. Sorry, I actually did that. She's laughing because she knows it's true.
Right.
No, he's got the same JSOC task force that George W. Bush had at his disposal. I mean, they run on these platitudes, and I do think they believe them because Hillary strikes me as that 1970s John Kerry idealistic true believer in government. But then you get in the beast, and years inside it just turn you into a soulless pragmatist that you still spout the same things, but you realize it's just huge and so unmanageable.
Well, that's what I always said about Ron Paul to all the newbies who were coming in who had never, I had been in the Republican Party. I'd been a journalist. Journalist is a loose word, but I had been covering politics as a reporter and watched it closely for many years. And I just said to all these new people who were coming in, do you think Ron Paul's going to be, he's going to make it libertarian again? He would have to do everything he promises you. He's going to have to be the most tyrannical executive in history by passing executive orders. The system is so, every other bureaucracy, so entrenched, and the incentives are so perverse that it's going to take many decades for us to change it. And so people who, people have such a short-term view in politics, and even people who work in it only think in terms of 4-year cycles, sometimes 2. And it's really, we're in this for the long haul to change it over a long period of time. And I fear that with the Bernie people is that they'll get disillusioned. What I've seen in the Ron Paul movement is that it's mostly, if not totally dead. We talked about that with Creighton a few episodes ago. And it's because people just got disillusioned because it didn't happen fast enough. And it isn't. It's when you've got people like Bill and Hillary who have been relevant since 1976, you're going to have to be relevant in 2050, I mean, if you're going to make a change. In 2050, this podcast will have so many episodes, Greg.
It's going to live on.
That's right.
People are going to be listening to this. You're going to be creating libertarians in perpetuity.
But
that would require sexual reproduction. I don't think that's looking very good.
This is digital replication here.
Honestly, libertarians are like the Shakers. No sex doesn't happen.
It's inevitable. We'll die out like the Gingers.
And then one day there'll just be a town that you can go to in Kentucky and observe the great libertarian utopia, and you can get a thing to hang your coat on.
These crazy people didn't want to be a part of the America that was made great again, and so they died in just absolute obscurity.
Welcome to libertarian camp. Over here is freedom.
How funny would it be if we built a wall to keep everyone else out, and it became great, and ours died. That'd be perfect.
So yeah, that's one thing that I fear with all the Bernie people is that Ron Paul, and here's why I'll ask you in a second about if you like Bernie supporting Hillary or not. A lot of libertarians over the last few weeks have said, "Hey, I'm really proud of Ron Paul for never endorsing McCain or Romney and never being part of the Republican machine. He's even such a old crotchety a-hole that he won't even endorse Gary Johnson. He didn't in 12, and he won't this time. Don't get your hopes up because I don't know what his deal is. But it was a source of pride for libertarians that he never went and got involved and quote unquote changed it from the inside." And what happened is they changed the rules to make sure that none of the Republican libertarians could change it from the inside, and then all those people got disillusioned and just aren't involved in politics anymore. And then the Trump campaign, all those establishment people couldn't get rid of Trump because of the rules they changed to keep Ron Paul people out, which was great. But I think because he never really kind of, obviously Rand happened, but you saw his support was so anemic compared to Ron's, and even for a myriad of reasons that we've talked about before. I don't know if I highly doubt Bernie has watched what happened with Ron Paul, But he took a different tact and said, all right, I'm going to steer my people into the DNC. We're going to change it from the inside. We're going to mend fences with Hillary. We're going to get leverage over the platform, which what voter has ever given one shit about the platform? I don't know why people care about having sway over the platform.
Well, the Republicans included, what is it, gay conversion therapy? I thought that was a rather odd inclusion.
So
they're
their platform.
They're including that.
No, they're binding. It is on the platform.
Nice. So
if you've got the gay, vote Republican, and you won't have the gay anymore.
So I am curious to see if Bernie steering his people into the DNC to change it from the inside in the opposite of what Ron Paul did, if that works or not, which is why I think that this is so damaging for the future of the Democratic Party in terms of voters. I mean, I think, are you disappointed? What are your opinions on him basically going to the DNC this week and
I've got something
slobbering all over Hillary?
No, I mean, because he definitely did that, and I've got something that I wrote earlier today that I'll read. But I was listening to a podcast on my way here, and it was totally talking about that after Obama got elected, and we expected all this change, and where were these leaders that were standing up and doing anything, and that the institutions aren't changing. Where are they?
Right.
And that was the whole point of this. And it's like, okay, well, I can consider that myself, that, I'm standing up and I'm taking positions and doing things that are going to change it from the inside. So I see myself doing that. Maybe based on your opinion, I should be on the libertarian side versus where I'm at now.
It's not,
are you happy?
It's not my opinion. It's your path that's already been chosen for you.
Are you happy right now?
It is the path that was chosen for me, and I'm happy because I'm getting to do the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, then stay there, because you won't be.
That's how you learn.
That I can tell you.
You learn through hate and depression and distrust.
No, bro, you're libertarian. You'll be miserable wherever you're at.
No. But do you think
that was the largest sigh unheard?
Will they become a coalition inside the party?
I think they could.
You are one.
I mean, I guess I am one.
You are.
And I don't see those people now, but I see
a coalition of one.
A coalition of one. That is a force of Shelby right there. Put that on my bumper stickers.
Because I guess my concern, or I don't have a concern. I mean, I like Bernie. The reason he was the instant success, I guess you could say, is because he's authentic. Mm-hmm. He never changed. He said the same things, and he is who he is and doesn't apologize. That's the appeal. And he's always said these things, and he always will. And so when he watched, Hillary get nominated during the roll call and left, after seeing his brother go up and cast his vote for him.
That was a very powerful speech from his brother, yeah.
I mean, he didn't come back. He left. And I just thought, my God, and that's the thing. My concern is he's, you're already seeing the right cast him as the sellout, right? And Bernie Sanders just isn't a sellout. That just isn't him. And he's never been that way. And I just wonder if he's heartbroken that this was his last act, endorsing everything he spent a career fighting against. Because Hillary says things well. I mean, she takes all the perfectly focused, tested positions, and yet he knows that it has. Look at her VP pick. If she really wanted to, Bernie can bring support and enthusiasm to a campaign running on their machine being able to organize effectively, and hoping to God she doesn't make enough people depressed that they still show up on election day. And if she'd picked Bernie, it changes the whole perception of Hillary Clinton. Literally.
She would have had so much more support from areas that she's now lost, or that are, up in the air, or might not vote at all.
It would change the narrative about Hillary Clinton. Like, oh my God, she is a liberal. Or even though that's different, but in America, liberalism and socialism, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, she's pushed much more progressive, but putting Bernie on the ticket would have made so much more of a difference.
Oh yeah. And Bill gave a great speech. Michelle Obama kicked things off to a rock star start. But you look at Tim Kaine. Kaine is a nice guy, and I loved it when they somebody asked him, about how he responds to the question of whether or not he's boring. And he's like, well, I am boring, but let me tell you, boring is the fastest growing demographic in America. And I thought, that's really great, but you're just another white guy hoping to God you can win Virginia and stop Trump there.
It's such a weird pick to me. And
it's only what makes sense if you're Hillary Clinton, because it's a purely electoral college based decision.
Yeah, and he speaks fluent Spanish. He was in Honduras for a period of time.
Does he eat taco bowls?
I'm sure. I don't know, but
Taco balls are good.
Listen, no one loves Mexicans more than Donald Trump.
He eats taco bowls.
He loves Hispanics, and to me by picking someone who was an actual Latino from a swing state.
There aren't Democrat Latinos though, other than the Castro brothers.
But
there aren't.
Why not pick one of those
already
guys?
That are ready to be on the national stage? There just aren't any.
To me, you could have secured a demographic. Richardson? No, Bill Richardson.
He hasn't been relevant since '96.
The governor of New Mexico, she is female.
Susana Martinez.
Yeah, but so why not pick the Castro brothers? Why pick Tim Kaine?
Because they're 30s.
Oh, okay.
One was like undersecretary at HUD, and the other was mayor of San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah, you could have secured a whole demographic, but Tim Kaine, it's just, yeah.
He's going to get you the boring vote.
It's just like, do you want to be president? Are you trying, Hillary?
Well, Joe Biden nailed it today, and I couldn't believe he said it. As Joe Biden said, the Democrats have stopped even trying to reach out to white working class voters.
Right.
And he's just, and I was like, I know, because Joe Biden makes the most sense of any vice presidential pick.
Mm-hmm.
Picking him again would have been a home run because he talks to the people Donald Trump appeals to.
God, you know what? That is...
He would have. I never even thought of that consideration.
I just went to the bathroom. Did you say that while I was gone? All right, well, let me tell you, that is brilliant. That is a great point.
I thought he should have been the nominee the whole time. I told you that 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That I thought the scandals would finally draw blood, but turned out that he couldn't, with his son dying and then having the exact same donor network as Hillary, he didn't even try.
Right.
He knew he didn't, he took vice president. He didn't expect to do anything else in politics.
He didn't need the donor network. It wouldn't have mattered.
They're Clinton people.
Yeah, but the thing is nobody likes Hillary Clinton.
But they love Bill, and that's the one who they trot out.
I don't know, man.
Look at last night.
Yeah.
She will give the worst speech of any of the major players at the Democratic convention this week. Tonight, Barack Obama's speaking. He'll hit a home run.
Right.
And people will get excited about him and be like, God, if we could just have him back.
I watched a 60 Minutes interview with him, or no, he's on Face the Nation this past weekend. And you forget about him.
Yep.
Because we're so, it always happens. The outgoing president always kind of gets forgotten. And
unless you get a shoe thrown at your head in Baghdad.
Right. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember Barack Obama. Can he stay?
Is he going to get a Supreme Court pick?
That'd be excellent.
Nah. Well, he would. No, he's not. That pick is not happening at this point.
He should
I
get
think
it.
that's ridiculous.
He's already picked. What's his face? But
and that guy's fine.
Merkel Garland.
He's the Tim Kaine of Supreme Court justices.
Merrick Garland Markle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and I see. You asked me that question. I'm like, Bernie Sanders doesn't want to filibuster the election. Right. I mean, he's mad. He sees the engine, but he knew the rules he was playing by. His supporters didn't, organize around the rules to make themselves successful, but he understood what he was getting himself into. He didn't think he was going to win. He probably didn't think he was going to do as well as he did.
Yeah.
Well, Bernie didn't run on free. He didn't run on free. He didn't run on giveaways. He didn't run on hardcore economic liberalism. He ran on ending corruption and having someone that's honest and authentic in office. And so, man, is that tough to swallow when you endorse Hillary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because she's the antithesis of everything that you just ran on.
Yeah, and the Clintons have a lot of positives in that they're experienced and they've been in the room and they've stayed relevant and all these things in policy discussions. But the one thing is they are corrupt.
Wait, are you? This is a meme on our Facebook page that I'm reading memes now. We've reached a new low. Wait, are you telling me they redistributed my delegates to someone who didn't earn them? It's very funny.
That just has to be so tough to swallow for him, though. That's going to be the thing I hope it's not what he's remembered for, because it's been the longest career in the world doing the exact opposite.
I don't
and
think
never wavering.
This to me, it doesn't. His legacy will be like Ron Paul's legacy. When you talk to people who are Ron Paul kids, like you talk to the college kids,
the Revolution kids, like Austin Peterson.
No, not younger than that, like Galt, Creighton. When you talk to some of those kids who were in college when Ron Paul's campaigns were going on, the 2012 campaign especially, they have a huge fondness, a huge soft spot for their heart and good old Ron. It's whenever you find a political figure, and that's why I think Reagan remains so popular for so many of these guys. Goldwater or Reagan remains so relevant in their lives is because it came at a time when they were very revolutionary. I mean, you always have a soft spot for that person who
First to the wall,
who helped you see the light. Like, you had these beliefs and they didn't make sense, but then, oh my gosh, there they are walking around. That's why Barack Obama will always be popular. That's why the Clintons have people like Bill. Bill's likable.
They love him.
Right, but Bill's a pragmatist. And so Bill is the ultimate deal maker, and Hillary's even worse. And so people don't want the embodiment of a politician. They want an idealist when they're looking for... You want someone who appeals to their higher
ideals,
nature.
You want to be inspired. And right now, and I know most people just don't get it, that the Walmart Beech Grove Duck Dynasty voter is inspired by Donald Trump because they've had a life of food stamps in a trailer, and they just hasn't been a good life.
Right.
But they've been forgotten about because it's been on the left, identity politics, and on the right, they vote for people who want to cut taxes and lower government.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they've found someone talking about better days and doing it in a way they also do it.
Right.
And it speaks to them on a visceral level that even if they're on disability and have 3 hover rounds, those 3 hover rounds are going in the election booth.
Right.
And that used to be the union voter.
Right.
It really did. And it's not anymore because they were left behind.
Somebody's fighting for me. All right, so final thoughts.
Larry.
Yeah, I haven't done Larry in a while.
I think there's still, you got her speech, which is going to dictate everything, in my opinion.
Hillary's speech on the final day.
Yeah. Because, I didn't see, I think the Democrat Party gets people in line. That's just what they do.
Yeah.
They don't break rank.
See, here's the
There's
thing.
none of this Ted Cruz stuff. It's you get on board or you're done and you're never coming back.
Right. So the way that the two parties work, and I'll talk about the Libertarian Party at the end, the Republican Party is a top-down ideology party, and that's why they're having such a crisis these last few elections, is because, Buckley set the philosophical underpinnings of the conservative movement, and that's what everybody believed, and Ronald Reagan embodied them. And then George Bush kind of spun them off in a new direction and then didn't shepherd them on that path to a new direction. And then that's how you end up with a Donald Trump as your nominee, a flaming liberal guy who's...
Bush killed neoconservatism.
Yeah.
Completely. The tax cut
nobody wants that
was
taste in their mouth anymore.
Yeah.
It failed.
And
it's a dead ideology. And so he bankrupted it and killed it. And then Trump has... wipe the slate clean, but he'll have no lasting impact on ideology, and so it'll be an empty vessel.
Are you saying that Donald Trump is a huge douche?
No, I'm saying he's only going to do 3 things. Donald Trump only has 3 things to do. I swear to God.
Number 1, build a wall.
No, immigration reform.
Number 2, make Mexico pay for it. Number 3, make America great again.
No. I mean, even if you think that's like the cartoon character that he plays and that's what he is, he's going to be stuck with the political reality that you start from your most extreme negotiating position and then it has to go to the House and Senate. And where he's a compromise. The guy compromises on everything. He knows he's going to have
to play the game.
He changes his decisions in debates in real time. Like, he's going to make a deal. Donald Trump isn't going to be, I'm going to build a wall, and if they say, well, listen, we'll give you like 100 yards of wall that we'll pay for, but then this is the kind of reforms we're going to make. He'll still be able to say he built that wall. He'll do the press op in front of it, and then you'll get reform. Like, he isn't going to be someone that's, we're building the wall, or I'm going to just shut the government down.
No, and you see that. That's the difference between him and Cruz, because Cruz is that guy. And
he's a hostage taker.
You see Donald Trump throughout. If you really reflect back, you look and you go, okay, Donald Trump has flared up. He's shown his fangs, but then at the end of the day, he's going to Ted Cruz's office to sit down in Washington, D.C. He's going to hang out.
Here's what people think, perhaps more than anyone else in the media. If you think he's going to let his approval rating get so low that he's irrelevant, or that isn't in his interest. His interest is to be as popular as possible and beloved.
Right.
So he will do and change and shift in the direction that makes him popular.
Right. He wants to be successful. I mean, he's got the energy to go forward and do whatever he wants to do. Now, if people follow him, or if,
he'll
his
come up with a great
flop,
way of spinning it in a new direction. I've always wanted to do this.
Successful. That's a 3-syllable word. He doesn't know that word. It's winning.
Winning.
Shelby,
why isn't Charlie Sheen backing Donald Trump?
You're going to come to Mr. Trump. You're gonna call Mike Pence now that you're in Indiana, and you're gonna say to the great.
I've called Mike Pence. I had to tell him about my wife's period.
You're going to call Mike Pence, and you're going to say to Mike Pence, I know you're a fellow Hoosier. I have to tell you, you need to go talk to Donald Trump. You need to tell Mr. Trump I can't take any more winning. I have had enough winning. We've just won too damn much. And so Mike Pence is going to walk down, and he's going to talk to Mr. Trump. And Mike will say, Mr. Trump, we've had too much winning. We can't take any more winning. And you know what Mr. Trump's going to say?
Get back in your cage?
Hell no, we're going to win some more. That's my favorite line from every Trump speech. It's the best.
It is.
Honestly.
It is because people despise it, and yet it dominates every analysis.
I
and
feel
it's
like
free
a winner
advertising.
just hearing it for the first time.
Well, no one likes losers. I mean, raise your hand if you like losers. You like losers?
Your vote doesn't count.
Why do you hate America?
I'm learning.
Why are you on ISIS's side?
I'm learning to love myself, okay?
No, but I mean, Trump isn't an ideologue. He's got no governing philosophy. He's gonna try to do immigration reform if he were to win. He'll do labor reform because that's tied to the immigration reform.
Right.
And then he will probably go crazy on military and then try to limit the scope of it, or at least make our allies kick in to pay the amount they're required to, like through NATO. He will tell. He is of the two candidates. Bill Kristol's backing, or likes Hillary because she's a neocon. Mm-hmm. Trump wants to stop getting in other people's problems, and if you hit us, he'll do like what he said about ISIS, where we take their oil. And
right.
And turns out we ended up hitting their oil fields after he said it, in a true twist of fate, and it drove him to the point where now the caliphate's kind of falling. But
yeah, so I think with Hillary, it'll be interesting in the debates to see how they match, because when I watched the debates with Hillary and Bernie, I walked away with the impression that Hillary truly is a policy wonk. About 50% of what she said I agreed with, even as a libertarian, even though truly on issues I don't agree with her at all on
only
almost
22%.
22%. So it will be interesting to see her measured, intelligent, well-informed opinion versus Donald Trump.
that's not. He won't let that happen. Look at what Jeb could have done, or look what Rubio could have done.
But she's not a Jeb. I mean, she can talk, and she has more personality
Chris Christie,
somehow.
Mike Huckabee,
right.
all these great communicators steamrolled.
Right.
Because they tried to make it about policy, and then he'd say something that no one else could stop thinking about, like holding up his hands and talking about the size of his penis.
He's got a point, and she's going to have to stand up and just be like, and call him out.
David Plouffe, Obama's deputy communications director and kind of the messaging mastermind of his first run.
He's got a good podcast.
He said, great podcast. I would not want to run against Donald Trump. That's the one candidate, if I were Hillary Clinton, I would not want to run against.
Yeah.
Because he won't allow it to be a traditional campaign. It'll be saying he wishes that the Russians would get the rest of her 33,000 emails she deleted at a press conference.
When I look at the Tim Kaine pick, it tells me she still's not paying attention.
She's playing it like it's a real election.
Like it all is the same, and that's what's going to lose the election. But yeah, so we'll talk about the Russians in a minute. But this is a real tweet. This thing that I'm about to read, right? Mm-hmm. That's real. Okay, because I don't believe that.
Wait, which one?
This is the one where it says.
Just read it.
I'll read it and you tell me. Hillary Clinton tweeted out, "Real Donald Trump thinks Democrats care about his opinion. How does it feel putting your stuff where it doesn't belong?"
That's not real.
Okay, all right. And then
that is exactly what would be.
And then Trump supposedly tweeted back, "Ask Bill."
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, the Russian thing. So I don't get why are Democrats claiming that the Russians leaked these emails to help Trump?
Somebody released them. Somebody gave them to Anonymous. It could have been Donald Trump himself.
Well, it was WikiLeaks.
Or it could have been anybody.
So, that Guccifer, and he's Romanian.
But the FBI or CIA, somebody came to the Clinton.
Well,
this is all what I'm
Hillary's
reading.
unsecure server. The narrative picked up early on that it would have been very easy for Russians to hack that, given that she was using the correspondence while on a trip to Russia. So I don't know if that's why, but I mean, they would have been able to intercept communications.
No, I mean what it was is somebody hacked into the DNC.
Oh yeah, Russians hacked the DNC
because
database
all you
to
have
get Trump's
to do
Oppo
is
research.
You gain access into a computer, and most computers have some kind of vulnerability. You're an IT guy; it's really coming out.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got hold of their email system and they pulled them all down. It's really easy. Anonymous does this to people all the time. I mean, look at the people who had all those foreign bank accounts. It's the exact same kind
The
of
Panama
thing.
Papers.
Yeah,
So-
the Panama Papers.
Did the Democrats have any proof that it was the Russians, or are they just making this shit up?
Well, I think the FBI came to them and said, we think something's happening.
Yeah, it
We're
was a
seeing
Russian
activity.
intrusion.
They had people come in and said, all right, somebody's been in here. We think it's this group.
And then
because
Putin's
it's got
already
telltale
said that he
signs.
respects Donald Trump. So it's easy to spin that narrative
So
in the
they,
media.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Then they
spin.
spun that narrative. Who knows if they had it?
Well, they thought they had it. And because he hadn't responded and he hadn't gone to Twitter. And then he holds a damn press conference and he said, I wish I had that kind of connection with the Russians. We could get the 33,000 emails Hillary deleted. And I thought, he just hit a turd. He just hit a home run out of a turd, like the biggest turd he could have. It's brilliant. It's absolute brilliant media mind.
There isn't anybody who can manipulate the media better than Donald Trump. And
tonight, Barack
unfortunately-
Obama will speak, and it will be all day about how Trump wishes he had a Russian hacker and Putin alliance in order to get the 33,000 emails.
All right, so final thoughts on the DNC and the Democrats. Hopefully this is the last time we have to talk about these people, but it won't be.
I'm going to say go Hillary, but
Are you with her,
I am right now, yeah.
even though Trump's with you?
Even though Trump's with me.
That's what he said in his speech.
Trump could be
Thank
with me,
you for
but we're going to
listening
go
to
out
the
into
We're
the woods.
Libertarians Network.
All
Get
right.
our other shows.
Listen,
at
you're
gonna be
voting
for Gary Johnson.
I may very well
He'll
be.
feel the
I have
Johnson out
lots
in
of
the woods.
questions about Gary Johnson for the next episode.
I'm going to take you out into the woods and make
You're
you
going to
feel
feel
the
the
Johnson.
Johnson.
So
And
you're
then Cheney's going to shoot you in the face.
going to get a hot load of liberty, right? Never mind. No, it's your destiny is. We don't even have to do anything. See, it's like The Walking Dead. You know when somebody's been infected. You can just see the virus starting to flow through their body, and you've dropped Alex Jones. You're an IT guy. You're dissatisfied with everything and everyone.
I need some penicillin.
No, there is no cure. Only freedom. It's only you're going freedoming now.
There's no un-AIDSing of liberty.
You're
You're not Magic Johnson.
You will be riding the comet. So
Oh, God.
So all right. Final thoughts on the DNC, Mr. Democrat.
There were a few good speeches. It was good seeing all the what happens, all the policy and the procedure behind it.
Mhm.
But we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we're going to continue the podcast. You're welcome to stick around. We're going to talk about libertarian things.
I thought we were talking about ISIS
We need to.
and cutting priest throats in Normandy.
In front of the nuns.
Yep. They
That's
took 3
awkward.
nuns hostage.
Final thoughts on the DNC, Greg?
I think Barack Obama will deliver a home run tonight, and I think it will be just good enough that there will be about a 50-50 split on media coverage tomorrow between what Trump said at the press conference and how amazing Obama was. But I'll tell you what, Hillary better... they're united. The Bernie people, in my opinion, will support Hillary. I mean, you're with her. They'll get in line, but Tim Kaine is folksy and self-deprecating and a nice man, but... I can't imagine. Like Mike Pence is a more stronger command presence than Tim Kaine tenfold, and his speech was good, but he couldn't overcome Ted Cruz saying "vote your conscience."
Sure.
And so, should anyone do anything remotely, or Donald Trump do anything remotely incendiary on Thursday, his speech will not even be discussed.
Yeah.
And then that puts a lot of pressure on Hillary because Bill's done well, Michelle kicked it off to a rock star start, and now. If the president delivers another home run, which he's taking 12 attacks at Trump, and talking about how much Hillary helped him in his cabinet, it puts a lot of pressure on her to rise to the occasion because Donald Trump did.
He will be live tweeting.
He'll troll her in real time.
Yes. I promise you he will live tweet tonight and or
Crooked
tomorrow.
rig system, folks.
Oh, yeah. He's going to go hard.
Hates the troops.
And they're gonna just screen the side by side.
But it's a lot of pressure because
Yeah.
he got a huge. I mean, he's up 3 points now.
He's up 3 points.
3 points nationally, and he's up in New Hampshire by 9. He's up in Iowa by 12. I mean, Virginia, he's neck and neck. He's just down in Florida now. 1. Like he rose to the occasion in a way I didn't think he could because he was disciplined.
He is, and he's doing better than I thought he was going to. But I think once people actually get to know Hillary, they'll like her a little more, and that'll buy her a lot.
I still think people blame her for not leaving Bill in '96.
Did you say that and believe that? Play the pen.
Play the pen.
People get to know Hillary and they'll like her.
Bill Clinton doesn't know Hillary.
His own. All right, so we need to do an in-depth episode on this, and not just always keep this at the end of the show when we've run out of gas at an hour and a half. But we need to talk about what's going on in Europe because I'm an ugly American. I don't care what's going on in Europe, so I've asked Greg to try and make me care. But you know, it's.
Well, are you a Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So imagine like right now.
Okay.
You went to your mega church that you used to go to down here on the south side.
Sure. Okay.
And so in walk two youth. They come in with knives and they start cutting people.
Okay.
They take you, or let's say you're sitting in the front row, so you're having to watch this, and they're asking you to take your cell phone and record what they're about to do. They make the minister, your friend, recite a sermon in Arabic, and then they slit his throat and record it on cell phone and send it to the ISIS propaganda wing and put it out all over the internet as they declare allegiance to the caliphate. Then they take the hostage, the altar girls, or altar boys, and it's mass hysteria, and they don't care. They know they're going to die, and so they do it anyway, but to create a culture of fear. Then in Germany today, there was a bomb that didn't luckily go off at one of these centers for the immigrants, and it looked like it would have killed around 80 people. Then you had 84 people in France get mowed over by a semi storming through on Bastille Day.
Every couple days there's been a terrorist attack in Europe.
And then there was another one in Germany. I mean, it is to the point where...
Is it a nightclub?
Let me see. Hold on. I'll get it and tell you for sure. I was reading through it, but I can't remember.
But either way, it's days or weeks in between instances of some type of terrorism or some type of attack, whether they're connected to ISIS or pledged allegiance or they're just crazy.
It happens here, like in San Bernardino or Orlando, and we think about it for a day or two and mourn the victims, and then we move on. You know, it's not being talked about as a systemic threat of any kind.
No, and the thing is, and I said this I think a couple episodes ago, that I still think there's going to be an attack, one of these lone wolf attacks on U.S. soil, and that will be the clincher for Trump.
But see, there already have been. But you're saying that when Trump is making America great again and something like Orlando happens,
he will force Hillary to choose, because the president's going around, he's going to attack Donald Trump tonight and say that he doesn't know the difference between Sunni and Shia, and that the American society is, or the Muslims have played an important role in American culture and its development. And so if an attack like this happens with the rising sense of nationalism, I think it is enough. I mean, Hillary is losing to Donald in leadership through Pew 54-39.
Sure.
And so in a time of terror, they're going to want a strong leader who makes no apologies and isn't afraid to say Islamic terrorism or radical terrorism or jihad.
I think Islamic terrorism or the radical Islam or whatever, I mean, it's a whole lot of BS in my opinion, which it is.
You're saying what?
That the whole, labeling something Islamic terrorist, like the whole debate on what Trump says Hillary should say. But I feel that, if there's an attack, it could very well play into Donald Trump's hands.
You're siding with a lot of libertarians and saying that the saying Islamic terrorism labels a whole religion, whereas it's a group of individuals that are perpetrating this.
Yeah, I think it's the individuals, and to me, it's not, the religion isn't important, and maybe that's because I'm non-religious. That I just kind of throw it with an extremist label and write it off.
And here's where I struggle as a non-interventionist. I look at it and go, well, how do you fight something that we can't? Let's call it what it is. It is Islamic radicals who are perpetrating this. It doesn't mean Arabic radicals. It's not. It's a religion thing. They're motivated by their religion. So you don't destroy the religion. It becomes police action in preventing this kind of stuff. How do you fight the lone wolves? I mean, this is something
you don't, and that's where the terrorism comes in. It's
this guy the guy that carried out this attack had already tried to go to Syria and got stopped, and so he was wearing an ankle bracelet.
Yeah, he was wearing. He got off at 8:30, and so when his tether ended, and it happened at 9 o'clock.
Some politician Republican said today, "Well, we need to tag him and track him," and I was like, "Well, that didn't work."
Right.
But I mean, we haven't had a graphic scene like we have mass murder, like we have Sandy Hooks and we have Boston bombings, we have these things and the Orlando nightclub shooting. None of them none of them have been at like a mega church. I mean, Dylan Roof shot an African American church in Charleston, South Carolina. They do it at like the Greenwood, let's say, Christian Church on Sunday
with 3,000
that already records it and live streams it.
That's Mike Pence's church. 3,000 people show up there every Sunday.
All of a sudden, it's a holy war and it's the clash of civilizations. Yeah. And even though we're Christians and we turn the other cheek, we are sick of you brown people, and we're going to follow somebody that's going to talk about forcibly removing you.
Yeah,
and they will, and they won't talk about it. They won't come out outright and say it. That's what's going on with Trump right now. He never should have happened. Have you met anyone that's just an outright Trump supporter? I can name one.
Yeah,
right. I can. I mean, yeah.
During the Republican primary process.
From the beginning?
Yeah. And yet he just kept winning.
Say, yeah.
And so people don't talk about liking Trump because he talks to the things that make them feel bad and they don't want to admit. But it will only amplify, and then they'll start feeling okay. If should such an event happen, it'll tip the scales.
Right.
Because he will say, listen, we have to call a spade a spade. We can't afford political correctness anymore. They hate us. They're actively trying to kill us in our communities. And the president's going around saying we have to be nice to them and accept them, and we should just accept our fate. Mm-hmm. And that changes the election.
I can see him getting, in front of on a microphone and making that argument to the world.
I mean, you remember 9/11? If you talked...
What is this?
Building 7?
We just forgot.
But I mean, that's what I mean. That'll be the 90% approval rating for George W. Bush.
Right.
He's the most liked ever and most disliked ever in political polling president in history. Reason why is 9/11, everyone united. It was an attack against the American ideal and the stories we tell ourselves about our nationalism. And people will just, anything, trying to be rational in times like that is unpatriotic or feels unpatriotic.
No, it was very uncomfortable to be anti-war in 2003. Mm-hmm. It was criminal in a lot of places.
And that's what he's done so brilliantly is he's framed it as a false choice.
Right.
You either want America to be great again or you support ISIS and their terrorist attacks on American soil.
How did Trump, was he for?
No, he's against it.
The war in
luckily,
Iraq?
That was the one thing he was, whatever reason, he didn't flip-flop, and they went back and fact-checked and wished they could hit him on it because he was against it.
Yeah. No, he was, because of the Iraq war, he felt it was unnecessary and sided with the liberals at the time.
Well, when it's Moroccans and Saudi Arabians that are flying the plane, it makes a lot of sense to go to overthrow Saddam Hussein, a Shia, who's actively slaughtering the Sunnis who committed the acts.
Yeah, and that was his point. So yeah, we're going to have to dive into this, and so start putting your brains on it, libertarians, because it's going to be a very difficult time for libertarians and non-interventionists, but it's also going to be it's going to be much worse for Muslims who are faithful people who are not.
For even Shias who aren't Sunnis.
I was going to say,
exactly,
I mean, does Donald Trump yet know the difference between Sunni and Shia?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
If he answers the call of people in fear, that's all you need. Huey Long.
When have you ever seen him understand any kind of nuance? He doesn't do nuance.
It's not. We don't have a nuanced world right now.
Right.
You can't be nuanced and well thought out and logical and get in the media.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
there's
Rand
the problem
Paul would have dominated it.
And the result, that is making Donald Trump as popular as he is.
Anytime we are on this podcast, we have the smartest audience you can imagine. Everybody's very smart. The smartest audience. We have the best listeners.
People tell us this all the time.
All the time. They come to us.
I mean, I look at those around me.
How could you have such a smart audience? It's so amazing. But even when we say something like, I will get emails, and Greg will get emails on this podcast, how dare you say nice things about Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton or, it's the sentiment, the overarching sentiment of the 3 paragraphs of what you said. They'll pull the sentiment out and not listen to the nuance of your words.
Out of context, this sentence offends me, and I think you should stop your podcast.
Sure. So, I got a note from one listener about having Daron Caldwell on. They looked up Daron's record, and even though Daron maintained his innocence in both episodes and explained what had happened, this person totally missed that point. How dare you have this person on? He said he was guilty. No, actually, he said he was not guilty. So it just doesn't... We don't live in a nuanced world. Even when you have a 3-hour libertarian podcast where you are all nuanced and your listeners are nuanced and they're educated and informed, that's just not how the world works.
Yeah.
People don't read the article, they read the headline. So the person that writes the headlines is the most powerful person. It doesn't matter what the journalist does.
It doesn't. I mean, you can't. It's hard enough to compete and get access. So you have to do something so over the top. And even if you do it and you get noticed, you don't have time to make the nuanced argument because they're going to start attacking the opinion you led with.
Absolutely.
It's a tough media world for libertarians. We don't have many options because we're all nuanced and we have to set our premises up and our platform up before we even get a chance to make our point.
All right. So final thoughts on this before we start wrapping up.
On the Clash of Civilizations,
yes.
There's not a lot you can do. Ultimately, this thing, I mean, ISIS was designed to create a caliphate. Mm-hmm. So the Levant, Northern Horn of Africa and Middle East, they wanted a Sunni or Sharia peace on earth society. The reality is that it just isn't possible in today's world because they can't operate in a vacuum and have enough cover to not. They make their money from oil and drugs and selling sex slaves. We can crack down on that. We can target it. And the truth is, like, we tried to overthrow Turkey's president and put in like a Egyptian military leader like we did in Egypt and have propped up because really southern Turkey's over. The idea of a democratic Islamic republic with Sunnis and Shias and secular people living together is over. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So he's already kicked out 50,000 people who are dissenters. Mm-hmm. He's targeting journalists. It's a purge and a cleanse. And this is a guy who, prior to this, was as well thought of in the diplomatic world for being civilized and different than whatever. It's the same thing that happens with like al-Maliki in Iraq. He started killing Sunnis in order to maintain power, and the guy went to Harvard.
Yeah, as soon as we were out, he started purging.
And the Turkish cleansing is making a lot of Europeans nervous because it just expels those folks and puts them right back into European countries, the radicals.
They go to wherever is a swamp, and then it becomes Afghanistan in the 1980s.
I listened to the Adam and Dr. Drew show, Adam Carolla. On my list of top 10 libertarian podcasts, which you can get at wearelibertarians.com, I included, as a libertarian network, the Adam Carolla Network, because a lot of times he says a lot of things that are very libertarian. And so he was talking to one guy who had low self-esteem. And he related it to the cop killings and how do you end cop killings. And he said, I had a dream the other night where I was being sent to prison for something, and I was terrified that I was going to go to prison, not because I was going to lose my freedom, but because I was not going to be able to drive my cars. I was not going to be able to spend time with my kids. I was not going to be able to see my wife. I was not going to be able to do this career that I love. And he said, the thing about inner city cop killings is that a lot of times you get people who these shooters like Dylan Roof, like the Aurora shootings, they don't have cars and kids and wives and a life to look forward to. And so if you want to lift your self-esteem, you build a life that you're proud of, people that you want to see, that if all of that were taken away from you, you would feel horrible about it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times there's just no... these shooters or ISIS or these guys, they just don't have incentive to live a decent life. And so this sounds incredibly white, but a life of crime is alluring because fuck else do you have? If you don't have...
It's less humiliating than working at McDonald's and being lectured to, all the time.
Right, and so
you get more street cred in your community.
Yep, exactly. And so if you have, and this is why I don't like Donald Trump, is that when you create a culture of shame around being Muslim or being a certain way, then you drive those people further down towards, when you isolate a community. Isolation is the worst thing that you can do to a human being or a culture. Because once you start isolating people and taking incentives away to engage in community with others in a meaningful way, then you start to see what we've got. And so that's
you have to keep in mind, though, so they operate outside the bounds of traditional laws and communities everywhere they live.
Sure.
Happened in Marseille in France, happened in Nice. They operate in a Sharia society that is totally separate from the existing legal system and the communities that surround them. Mm-hmm. That is why assimilation has failed. And that's why, like, in policy discussions, there isn't an answer because they have no desire to integrate.
Why would they? But that's my point. Why would they? Why? And if you're a young black man, why would you trust the cops?
You don't understand. So if you follow fundamental Sunni Islam, if there is a caliphate, you are required to pledge allegiance to it. It isn't. It's like if you decided you just weren't going to follow "Thou shalt not kill."
Right.
Can't do it.
Sure.
So it isn't. This isn't something where there's a rational endpoint where we can work together. If it's an end war, it's a holy war. And fundamental Sunni Islam does continue to grow and succeed. It's a clash of civilizations, and the way it ends is the way it's always ended. The Arab people, there's the old phrase: the Arab people are either at your feet or at your throat. It's the oldest. I mean, it's what General Pershing knew.
Yeah,
you have to accept that there are certain people that think the world ends a different way than you do. And there's no trying to rationalize your way out of that.
Sure.
And I don't see any walls or, anything else that can be put up against these people that stops that. You can't, purge, all your Muslims or tell them they can't come here because it's just going to make them mad. And the communities you rely on to turn those people in, to stop their children from becoming those people, that's what you have to do. You can't turn, anything into a Palestinian state where they just raise their children to be distrustful.
Or they lie, like the guy that slit the priest's throat. Oh, well, I'm just going to Syria. I want to get married and see my friends. You create an incentive for them to lie and for everyone in the community to lie, and then you have no intelligence.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's end on a happy note. You should... I have no happy note.
I have one.
I was hoping you had a happy
Marvin
note.
Bush, George W. Bush's brother, endorsed publicly Gary Johnson and Bill Weld.
Heck yeah! All right, I think Jebby's going to do it.
Little Jebby,
little Jebby's going to, with his little hands. He's going in his low energy.
Little Jebby
are going to endorse Gary Johnson. All right. So at the end of the show, you've listened a lot. So at the end of the show, we open it up. You can talk about whatever you want. You can say anything that you might have missed. Anything that The floor is yours.
The floor is mine.
To say whatever you'd like.
It's been interesting watching the DNC and the RNC and seeing, how similar they are, how vastly different they are. Protesters scare the crap out of me, especially when it's, Black Lives Matter and Donald Trump fans together. So I was glad to see that there wasn't any bad violence in that. I hope the election turns out peacefully.
All right. And if, people want to follow you, what are you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. It's just me, Shelby Melban. I have a persona called What Shelby Says or What Shelby Said that you can find on Facebook. That's where I open it up to, say more of the things I want to say and not bombard my friends who don't always agree with me.
Yeah, I don't want to abide by that. You friend me, you know what you're getting into. Greg Lenz?
Let's see, what was I? There was one thing I'm just looking up right now.
Well, I will take this opportunity to say, go to WeareLibertarians.com, and if you would like to help contribute to We're Libertarians, then please check out the PayPal or the Patreon option. Every time we do an episode, you subscribe through Patreon, we get $1, $5, whatever this means to you. Heck, you can go to PayPal. Sarah Potter, our good friend, joined the Jeremiah Moral Pizza Society this week, so she's donating $7 a month.
Does it perhaps need to be the Potter Moral Pizza Society?
Not yet. We're working on that. And then we also want to thank Jason Doolittle. Jason donated through our Amazon wish list another compressor and helped offset a few costs. He's amazing. Christy Avery is always the best. Samantha Woditz. She donated a few bucks to help offset some costs. Everybody's waiting for the subscription, and we didn't do a live show this month. We're doing one at the last Monday of August. So we need your donations to make sure that this runs and continues to be distributed properly. Greg, so thank you. Thank you to those guys. I know I'm leaving somebody out. Thank you to everybody that donates to help make this thing run correctly. Greg Lenz, that is mine. I normally finish up, but
you do.
I know.
You know what? I'll go ahead and let you because I don't really have anything to.
You don't have
the endorsement of Marvin Bush for Gary Johnson and William Weld is awesome.
All right, so thank you for joining us here on this episode of We're Libertarians. We appreciate you so much. Please go check out the Gary Johnson for President podcast, Raw Audio Politics. I've been throwing some audio from the convention speeches in that feed. Creating Maya, just an update. Maya's doing great. She's took my advice and is on some medicine, and she's well balanced. So we're going to talk to her real soon. Maya's doing great. So please go give her some encouragement if you love Maya. Even if you don't, go encourage her. So, all right. Thanks for joining us here on this episode of We're Libertarians. We appreciate you so much. And as always, we promise
to do better next time.
Hi. Yeah, it's me. It's Chris Spangle. You know, the funny thing about doing a podcast is that unless people talk with you on social media, you have no idea who's listening. You don't know who's listening. And you have no idea what the audience looks like. I'm guessing male, young, white. But we don't know for sure. I'm sure you're all very good looking, though. But tell us a little bit more about yourself and about what you like or don't like about the show by going to wearelibertarians.com, scroll down to the bottom on the sidebar, and take our listener survey. It really helps us out. It helps us understand who you are and what you like. And then we ignore it. No, I'm just kidding. Greg ignores it because Greg's a dick. But I listen to it. I take everything you say very seriously. Again, so what we've learned is go to wearelibertarians.com, scroll down to the bottom, scroll down to the sidebar on the right, take the listener survey. I will read it. Greg will ignore it. Greg is a dick. All right, thank you for considering taking 2 minutes out of your day to make We Are Libertarians better. Greg is a dick. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com. Hi. Yeah, it's me. It's Chris Spangle. You know, the funny thing about doing a podcast is that unless people talk with you on social media, you have no idea who's listening. You don't know who's listening. And you have no idea what the audience looks like. I'm guessing male, young, white. But we don't know for sure. I'm sure you're all very good looking, though. But tell us a little bit more about yourself and about what you like or don't like about the show by going to wearelibertarians.com. Scroll down to the bottom on the sidebar and take our listener survey. It really helps us out. It helps us understand who you are and what you like. And then we ignore it. No, I'm just kidding. Greg ignores it because Greg's a dick. But I listen to it. I take everything you say very seriously. Again, so what we've learned is go to wearelibertarians.com, scroll down to the bottom, scroll down to the sidebar on the right, take the listener survey. I will read it. Greg will ignore it. Greg is a dick. All right, thank you for considering taking 2 minutes out of your day to make We Are Libertarians better. Greg is a dick. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at wearelibertarians.com.